Hi again. I'm here to talk about science definitions. This is also important to know as we start off our course, because physical anthropology is considered a life science, whereas cultural anthropology is considered a social science. Right? So let's talk a little bit about definitions of science. So a good way to think about science is that it looks for testable explanations for things that are observed, right? So we can observe things with our eyes, we can observe things with technology, with machines, we can observe things digitally with microscopes. There are many, many ways in which we can observe things. They may not always be easy to see or easy to see in our lifetime. But that's what science is looking for, something that is testable, right? When we ask the question, is this a certain way, we can say yes or no, right? We need to be able to test something for it to be a good scientific question, right? If it's not a good scientific question, then we won't be able to answer yes or no, right? So for instance, a good scientific question would be, did the dinosaurs exist? We know that there is evidence of fossils, and that gives us the ability to say, yes, they do exist, or they did exist at one time. So a not so good question would be the kind of question that Stephen Jay Gould poses in one of the articles that you might read this semester on the dinosaur extinction. And that question is, did the dinosaurs overdose on psychotropic plants because they were drug addicts and they couldn't stop eating them and so they died? Okay, it's an interesting question, but what can you do with it, right? Where can you go with this question? We can't really lock a bunch of iguanas in a room and give them, psychoactive plants and see what they do, because dinosaurs and lizards aren't really the same. We can't really extrapolate that behavior, right? So without the ability to test an idea, it's not really a scientific question. So some people ask about the term theory, and theory is a really important term in science, but it's different than the way that we use the word theory in just regular conversation in English. So if I say, I think he likes me, but it's just a theory, that means first that I'm a Valley girl, and second that it's a myth, right? I think it's just a theory. I'm not sure if it's true or not. I'm really not sure about it. So that's not how science uses the term theory. Science actually uses the term theory to mean something that is close as we can get to fact, to truth, right? And we only will call something a theory if there's Ginger. We'll only call something a theory if it has been tested and retested and observed, and there has not been any reliable evidence against it, right? So when we say the Big Bang Theory, for instance, or the theory of relativity, or the theory of evolution, as we'll use it in this class, that means that many, many different fields of science over periods of time have tested their ideas about this, and there has been no reliable evidence to falsify it. So I'm going to let you read through some of these on your own. The differences between a fact and how a fact is different from a theory. Right. So while a theory is, while a fact is a piece of the theory, a theory puts it all together. It's like a story that makes sense of different facts. This is what we would call a law. And importantly for physical anthropology, it's important to be objective, right? So you know that Objectivity is, the attempt to be neutral about something, not judge it, not give our opinion. Whereas subjectivity, or being subjective, has to do with our own feelings about something, maybe our own biases or prejudices, something we would like to see happen. So in science, it's really important to be objective. When you see this little bonobo here, a bonobo is a relative of a chimpanzee, and we have these bonobos in San Diego at our zoo. What's that bonobo doing? When you look at his face, right, you think he's smiling, right? I mean, I would say smiling if someone asked me that question. However, we have a lot of baggage with the term smiling, right? Smiling to us means happiness, right? Pleasure. So actually, among non-human primates, when they pull their lips back and show both lines of their teeth, right, both jaws, they show their teeth from both jaws, that means they're nervous. They might be frightened. So it's kind of like when you smile, when you're anxious about something and you don't know what else to do, right? That like that kind of smile. So in fact, little chimps, when they're used in entertainment, will often be trained with some sort of painful mechanism, like maybe an electric stick. They'll be poked, and then they make this face whenever they see the stick, and so we interpret that as a smile, right? Because what they're doing looks to us like a smile, right? So all of this to say that being objective when you're describing things, when you're thinking about things, is really important in science, so that we can truly understand what's going on around us and not assume that we know based on our own understandings. So some of the big questions that we'll talk about in this class are: when did our species begin? If humans are all one species, why do we look so different? What exactly did Darwin say about evolution? What's a Neanderthal anyway? And actually it's pronounced Neanderthal. It's a German word. And what does it mean that our DNA is 98.4% the same as a chimpanzee? If we share ancestry with apes, how come there are still apes? And why aren't we hairy? And why don't they talk? Well, what can we expect for the future of our species? Right? As scientists, we're not going to make predictions, but once you understand the past and the present, you can think about the future with a little bit more educated guesses. All right, that's it for this one. See you next time.